Here's a quick little tutorial of a Mississippi John Hurt song in the key of D and Staccalee. I learned this from his 1928 recording. He made other recordings of it in the 60s that are very similar, maybe a few slight little differences, but let me just play a little bit of it and then I'll break it down. So the chords we use in here are D, G, and A. It's this long A. Barred across the second fret of that. So it's pretty straightforward. There's a few little tricky bits to it. But it's a really good Mississippi John Hurt song to sing. I think it's one of his great arrangements. Really just simple and beautiful. So you start with a D. And we're just hammering with that, hammering on that F sharp. One of the things I always find useful in learning these kind of songs and learning Mississippi John Hurt songs is you figure out what you want your fingers to do, but at the same time you want to get that melody, the rhythm and melody in your head. So you want to be able to kind of hear it in your mind's ear. Don't let your fingers just tell your ear what to hear. Make sure that it's in your head. Dun, 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 dun. And that's when it kind of enters it can enter your muscle memory. If you just really have that in your head. And I advise, just listening to the recording of him playing it in 1928, especially as you start to learn it, go back and listen to his again, then learn a little more, then go back and listen to his, and imagine as you're listening to it what his fingers are doing and what's causing that, that's that move, hammering that middle finger on that high E string. Now here we're just playing a G chord, or you can play it like this, whichever way you prefer to play it. And you're playing this, the fifth up here. That's the third fret of the second string. So again, get that melody in your head. Da, 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 da. So E, open E, and then the D. Second string. So much of John Hurt, and I remember when I was first learning it, so much of it was getting those little syncopated bits working. So it's worth just trying not to get too frustrated if you don't get it right off, because as soon as you get the syncopation in your mind and then you get it in the muscle memory, it just becomes a whole lot easier. But until you get to that point, it can seem kind of hard. So let's listen to that G again and see how it's syncopated. As soon as you can do that, I feel like you've really got that alternating thumb thing down, being able to play straight on the beat. Syncopated beats in there. Again, with that A, walking down from the high A down to the seventh, and it's syncopated. Sort of like an archetypal John Hurt arrangement. It's got everything. That's it, and it's police officer, how can it be you can arrest everybody, but you're scared of Staccalee, that bad man, oh cruel Staccalee. I think sometimes in the 60s cruel oh cruel stagger Lee. So you can either hammer or you can slide up. It is a different melody there. Either you're sliding from the minor third to the third, or you're hammering on from the second to the third. Now, when I say from second to third, I'm not talking about frets. I'm talking about the second degree of the D scale to the third degree of the D scale. It's open E to F sharp. So either hammer or slide. You can hear that's got a little more minor sound to it, because you're going from the minor third to the major third. So that's pretty much it. Now I want to rewind it for a second and go back and look at the introduction to this song, because the introduction is particularly interesting. And I think that learning the basics is important, but after you go back, the introduction has a few interesting challenges that I think are really neat. If you listen to the introduction when he's playing on the 1928 recording, he's not doing the alternating bass. He's staying on that D string. So it's like this. It's kind of hard. What is so neat about this is that when then he goes into the alternating, when he goes to the G, it's almost like this suspension and then release. Now the other thing that's interesting there about when he goes from that D to the G is he doesn't go to the root of the G. He starts on the third, the second fret of the fifth string. So it's actually, I think he only goes to the third the first time. So again, one more time. Funny because there's a recording that Miles Davis did of Someday Your Prince Will Come live at Carnegie Hall in the 60s, and it always reminded me of Stackley because the bass, Paul Chambers is playing bass, and he's at the beginning of the song, he's just pedaling on one note, doom doom doom, and then when they hit the melody, he starts walking or alternating or whatever it is with that sort of suspension and release. Always reminded me of that. Anyway, little parallels between Miles Davis and Mississippi John Hurt. Why not? Police officer, how can it be? You can arrest everybody, but you're scared of Stagger Lee. That bad man, oh cruel Stagger Lee.